Hi everyone. So here we are on our lecture number 37 in the geography lecture series. Please do check all the earlier videos. There has been some gap due to my poor health, but now that we are resuming, I would expect that you are done with all the previous videos. Otherwise, the sequence that we are covering in would slightly be problematic for you to deal with. And the other videos of history, polity and environment ecology are also there, so kindly check them. Okay, so lecture number 37 is of course on the convergent plate boundaries that we were doing. We have already done the oceanic convergence and the examples to see that. But now we have to see the continent-ocean convergence or ocean-continent convergence, either way you can say, and these are the subtopics within that we will cover. Starting with the ocean-continent convergence. So firstly, of course, we have to understand that what exactly happens in this kind of convergence. So you understand that one plate is going to be oceanic, another is going to be continental. That is the first key idea. And it is the most common type of the convergent plate boundary, wherein one boundary will be oceanic, another will be continental. Now, this kind of a convergence helps us in understanding the formation of Rockies, Andes and other similar fold mountain system. So you must have at least heard the names of Rockies and Andes. You will see where they are and how they are formed. वो हमें समझने में मदद मिलती है यहाँ से. Now this kind of a convergence system is also called as Cordilleran Convergence. The reason is because Cordillera means extensive chain of mountains, or let's say the mountain ranges. Because of this they are known as Cordilleran also, and because they are the chain of mountains or the ranges. And there are these chains or ranges available in North America and South America. Therefore, this kind of convergence system is also called as Cordilleran Convergence. And this is a diagrammatic representation of the same, that you will have an oceanic crust and you will have a continental crust. जाहिर सी बात है, इसमें कौन सा सबडक्ट करेगा, जो डेंसर होता है वो करता है. Which one is denser? Oceanic crust is denser. And then these are just the similar things because it is convergence. So trench is here, volcanic arc is here, lithosphere and asthenosphere. All of these things now I guess you already know. So the collision margins or the sediments, they are folded to form the fold mountains, because of course when you say that it helps us in the understanding of the formation of the fold mountain. So how are these fold mountain forms? ठीक है, तो क्या होता है actually, see there are similarities to the oceanic only. अभी हम पूरा देखेंगे. I'll take you to those steps which we have done in this case, and you will find the similarities. Just focus on what we are doing for the time being. So when the boundary, these boundaries, they collide with each other, there is collision. So on those collision margins, the sediments which are present there, they are folded and then they form the fold mountains. Of course, the oceanic crust is denser. It subducts below the lighter continental crust, which leads to the formation of trenches, and they are present parallel to the fold mountains. Itna to we have also seen in the case of oceanic. But here we have to remember that the trenches which are formed due to the conversion, or let's say the collision of, or due to the convergent boundary which is oceanic continental, so these kind of trenches are not as deep as those of the oceanic convergence. So the kind of trenches that were formed in this case, they were actually deeper, and we have talked about some of the deepest trenches also. I hope you remember. Other things associated to such kind of convergence is violent volcanic eruption. That is pretty obvious that will happen, and when this will happen, earthquake and tsunamis are also going to happen. So that is like some of the things which are very basically understood. Now, as we have told that it is very similar to the oceanic convergence. However, one difference is there, that in the continental oceanic convergence, mountains are formed instead of islands. We have seen in the oceanic one, islands are formed, but in the continental ones, mountains are formed. But that is the only difference. And slightly depth differences in the case of trenches, but otherwise the entire process is just similar. So what we'll do is, I'll take you to the slides that we have used in the case of oceanic convergence only, so that we just quickly see these features. We have seen the steps. So the similar steps will go for the oceanic continental also. So let's quickly revise from this slide only. So subduction of the denser plate will happen. Then what will happen? A denser oceanic plate will subduct below the, here it is less denser oceanic, but in the case of continental it will be the less denser continental plate. That is the only difference, right? Then a formation of trench will happen along the boundary. Now because of that, if you remember, when we did this, we talked about that there will be changes in the composition and structure of the rocks also in that subduction zone, where in the denser oceanic plate is subducting under the continental plate. This is oceanic plate, this is denser, and it is subducting under the lighter or less denser maybe continental plate. So in that subduction zone there will be composition and structuring changes of the rocks, because there is so much of high pressure and temperature available there. Now when they move further down, of course the plate will melt because of further heat, and the magma, if you remember, what did we discuss about magma? Magma was, you know, those remaining structures only, and then the other materials. So they rises upwards due to the buoyant force जो आपको surrounding denser medium से मिलता है, because as compared to the surrounding situation, magma has lower density. So this much is what you already know. Now next what will happen, because the magma is continuously trying to move upward, so due to the continuous upward movement of magma, it flows out of the surface, right? And what will happen? There will be constant volcanic eruptions, because they are continuously trying to move out, and that results in the eruptions. Now because of that constant volcanic eruptions at the ocean floor, there is layer of rocks which is created due to the continuing process, because this is not going to happen just, you know, overnight or something, very few years. It will take millions of years to happen. A kind of volcanic landform will be created. Now when that landform was rising above the water, we called it island. When that volcanic landform will just stay there, we will call it as fold mountains, right? Those parts. And then यहाँ पे जैसे volcanic islands बनते थे, यहाँ पर mountains बनेंगे. That is the whole, like, you know, these sequence, this one and this one, these sequence will remain same. The same process will happen in the case of oceanic continent boundary also, or convergence also, which we have just talked about. The only difference being that here the mountains will be formed instead of the islands. Now the volcanic eruptions, as we have just said, will form a chain of volcanic mountains, and these chain of volcanic mountains are collectively called as continental arc. So this is the definition that you have to remember. That is why in the introduction I told you formation of continental arc. Okay? So these chain of volcanic mountains which results due to the volcanic eruptions are called as continental arc. Some examples, there is this Cascade Range. Now these are very prelims oriented points. They can ask you any such questions and match the following, etc., or correct incorrect statement, etc. So Cascade Range, which is parallel to Rockies, then West Chile Range, which is parallel to Andes Mountains. Then there is this term which you should be familiar with, because this is a term in different format. You will come across this term at several points in your discussion. The term here is orogeny. Orogeny is basically the process of formation of fold mountains. So wherever you hear this term or read this term, it has to be related to the mountain building process. Orogeny is about mountain building process. Okay. Now let's quickly see about the formation of Andes and the formation of Rockies. Now I hope you remember and understand, like we did some examples of the island arcs like Philippines, Indonesia, Japan and Caribbean islands in the case of oceanic convergence. What we discussed was that the entire process will be same. The only two things that the only thing that you need to remember in the different examples are that which plate is being subducted under which plate. That was the only thing that you needed to know in that also. So here also it will be same only. So the process as we have discussed is going to be same. The only thing that you will focus on, which plate is going to be subducted. So let's say when we talk about the formation of Andes Mountains, here this formation takes place due to the convergence between Nazca plate, which is an oceanic plate. Now if it is an oceanic plate, it will subduct under the South American plate, which is a continental plate. If they are converging, there will be a trench formation also. So here the Peru-Chile trench is formed at the subduction zone, which is the longest, not the deepest. We are not talking about the deepest, because we have seen that in this kind of convergence, the depth is not that great as it was in the case of oceanic convergence, and we have seen, for example, like Mariana Trench, which is the deepest one. So So here it is the longest trench in the world. Before we go for Rockies, let's just quickly see it here. So this is that diagrammatic representation. Just to repeat, oceanic subducting under the continental and the trench formation takes place here. So here you see, ठीक है, South America में आप South America continent आप आराम से you can just have these images in your atlas also. But here you will see, so Nazca plate इधर से subducting under the South American plain. This is the chain of mountain, Andes mountains. और यहाँ पे जो trench form हो रहा है वो हो रहा है Peruchili trench. ठीक है, this was about the Andes. What about the Rockies? Rockies North America में. So this is the North American continent and here you see the Rockies mountain. Now here what happens? So here also, you know, these are just the examples of the plates I have shown you. First let's discuss the theory here. So formation of Rockies में which plates are involved? So here what happens that the North American plate, which is continental in nature, moves westwards, while the Juan-de-Fuca plate, which is a minor oceanic plate, and also the Pacific plate, which is a major oceanic plate, but they both are oceanic plate, they moved eastwards. Now let's note them down. So here is that North American plate and here is that Juan-de-Fuca plate and the Pacific plate. Now these are oceanic in nature because here entire is this ocean, you know. So of course these are oceanic in nature. This is that minor plate और ये तो पूरा बड़ा सा Pacific plate है. And this is the entire continental plate, North American plate. So what is happening? North American is moving westward and these plates are moving eastward. ठीक है? So if this is moving this side and these two are moving this side, there are chances of collision. That is pretty obvious. If something is moving like this and something is moving like this, there will be collision. So this is what they have discussed. So these are the plates involved. Firstly, you will remember this. When they move, there is convergence, and the convergence gives rise to a series of parallel mountain ranges, which we understand as the Rocky Mountain, which I have shown you here. Okay. But here, when we talk about the trenches, so here trenching is less noticed because of the accumulated sediments in the trench region brought by the oceanic plate. So here what happens कि आपको उतना ज़्यादा trench जो है उतने सही तरीके से नहीं दिखते हैं because there are these sediments which gets accumulated in this trench region. यहाँ पर थोड़ा अलग टाइप का फीचर हो जाता है, accumulation ज़्यादा हो जाता है because the oceanic plate, you have two oceanic plates here, Pacific and the Juan-de-Fuca plate. So they just deposit the sediments. So trench क्या होगा, वो जो गड्ढा होना चाहिए था, that will not be much visible because you will have the sediment deposition there. That is the key idea. And also in this region there is some slight difference that there are series of fault zones. Fault आपको पता है, cracks वगैरह जहाँ रहेंगे. For example, San Andreas fault, which makes the landform slightly different as it is in the case of Andes. But if you remember all of these points, you will be in a better position to write the answer for the Rockies also. And for Andes, you just have to explain the whole process in detail, which we have done earlier, and just write the name of the plates involved and write the name of the trench which is formed. And if you just follow these diagrams, this has to be made by you and it is pretty easier to make. I've given you the simplest possible diagram so that when you have to handmade it also, it's not a problem for you in your answer. This also is something आप बस ऐसे करके साउथ अमेरिका का अगर आप मैप बना देते हो and then you know just write the notings क्या क्या हैं. Similar goes for North America. Just a rough sketch would also do, and then write the names of the plates. ठीक है, and you should just know that okay, let's say it is continental, this is oceanic, this is oceanic. For better clarity, you can write कि this is minor, this is major, because you already know the differences between minor and major plates. We have done that. ठीक है? Okay, I think this was all about the formation of Rockies, Andes, and then we have also talked about the continental arcs, which I have given you as a definition. So here we end our discussion on the second kind of convergence, which is your ocean-continent or continent-ocean convergence. Next one, so oceanic is done, oceanic continental is done. Now we will have to see the continental convergence. What happens in this case? Once we finish the convergence boundary, then we'll go for the divergence and the transform boundaries. I hope these videos are clear to you. Also guys, just wanted to tell you that because I was not active for some time here on the channel, so I was constantly updating everything on the Telegram channel. तो टेलीग्राम चैनल का लिंक आपको डिस्क्रिप्शन वीडियो सेक्शन में भी मिल जाएगा, कमेंट सेक्शन में ऑल्सो यू विल गेट द लिंक. द रीज़न इज़ दैट यू नो आई कैन नॉट मेक एवरी टाइम वीडियोज़ फॉर यूट्यूब जस्ट टू से दैट ओके दिस इज़ द रीज़न दैट यू नो आई एम नॉट एक्टिव और आई एम अनवेल और वट एवर इज़ द रीज़न. बट टेलीग्राम में आई जस्ट ड्रॉप अ टेक्स्ट, So those of you who feel that you were not informed, it's not the case. I was already informing. It is just that you might not have joined the Telegram channel. So please do join it because you get all the updates there. So thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Take care till then. Bye bye.